Everyone, welcome to today's edition of AM Minnesota. We continue to have Faribault City Council candidates on our AM Minnesota show. Last Friday we had John Rowan, George Wickstrom Jr. Today Steve Underdahl and Tom Spooner are with us. Tomorrow we will have Royal Ross and Adam Gibbons stop by our KDHL studios. This is our effort to assist you in being educated when you head to the polls. Of course, a lot of people have voted already. Well over 3,000 people have voted here in Rice County, and that is a record number because you don't have to have an excuse to vote absentee. You could vote any time you think you want to go to the polls. It's just that simple. Don't need an excuse. And I don't know, I think that's a good thing. I guess we'll get the candidates' thoughts on that maybe here in just a minute. So again, tomorrow we'll have Royal Ross, Adam Gibbons in studio. Ooh, this is kind of spooky. I don't have a guest yet for Halloween. I better get cracking on that. Anyway, good morning to you, Tom Spooner.
Good morning, Gordy. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Good to see you. And Steve Underdahl.
Yes, good morning, Gordy. It's great to be here and have an opportunity to visit with the people of our community.
That's right. If you want to ask a question, all you have to do is text me at 507-838-5233. Please do not drive while you are texting that. Seems kind of ridiculous. I have to remind people that, but I probably should. Do not drive and text your question. We really appreciate those texted in, and it makes the show flow better. I think people tend to keep their questions shorter when they're typing it rather than voicing it over the phone. You know what I'm saying? So 507-838-5233. I will start, Tom, with you and ask why you're running for Faribault City Council.
This is my second time. I ran 2 years ago. I was unsuccessful at that time. I've been very active in city government. I'm 15 years member of the Planning Commission. I've been on lots of boards and commissions throughout the year. The 2040 vision statement. I'm also with Steve and I are both on the comprehensive steering committee, the comprehensive new plan we're writing right now. I've been very active, and I think that my years of experience and leadership would be great for the community.
Steve, why are you running?
Well, I've obviously been on the council for a number of years already, but also been very active in the community in a number of other ways. Served on the Planning Commission prior to actually getting on the City Council, with the Riverbend Nature Center, on the EDA, as well as some other things that don't need to go into a lot of detail with. But I think, I've got a set of skills that is worked out pretty well. I'm in business myself, so I understand that aspect of things. My time on the city council has helped me to kind of meld those two together, because city government is a little different than operating a business, but I think I've been able to do that pretty well. I think I've been strong on fiscal management of policy as far as the city council goes forward there. And I just really want to be involved in our community and help our community move forward. And that's in a number of fronts out there. And I think I have the energy and the time and the talents to serve our community well.
Now, before I get to our opening microphone, I only got a couple of minutes here. Obviously, we're going to have a new member of the council because the two people running for mayor, Faribault City Council members, one of those people will be elected. Unless we have some amazing write-in campaign at the last minute here, right? So how do you envision filling that seat? I'll start with you, Steve.
Well, in my time on the council, we've had vacancies that have occurred before. And so, I mean, just from a procedural standpoint, it'll be up to the new council to decide how to fill that position until the next general election. So really, we're going to be filling a seat for 2 years if I'm elected on the council next year. And in the past, there's been a number of ways we've done it. I think in this case here, so close to the election, I would just guess that, probably one of the first areas we're going to look at would be whoever that fourth place getter is in the
Would you agree with that, Tom?
I would agree with that. I think it's an appointment, but I would guess that the new council is really going to take a look at the fourth vote getter.
All right. So we've got that out of the way. We're going to come back. Ask your questions. Please text them to 507-838-5233. Don't drive and text. Do not drive and text.
She supports early childhood education so our kids can get a great start. And Patty Fritz will work to make college more affordable so the students of the next generation don't start their adult lives burdened with debt. The difference is simple. Patty Fritz supports education. And Brian Daniels.
In Minnesota, we continue with our Faribault City Council candidates today, Steve Underdahl and Tom Spooner. Yet last Friday, we had George Wickstrom Jr., John Rowan with us. Tomorrow, it'll be Royal Ross and Adam Gibbons. They are vying for seats on the Faribault City Council. Do have a texted question here, and I will start with Steve because I started with Tom to start the show. What do you think about developing the river area in Faribault?
Well, I think that that's been something that's been underway for a number of years for people that have been in a community like I have for basically all my life. I remember when that was grain elevators down there and abandoned buildings. And renovations like this take a period of years. So with the formerly the Boston site down there that got redeveloped, the apartment building down there, years before that the Depot Square properties, and then other buildings out there including the Depot restaurant, there has been development that's occurred there. There's just a few pieces of land that are available there. There's a former public works site down there. There is also a little bit of land that is behind the Boston site that things could be developed on. We've looked at some options for the site behind the Boston's area there. There was at one time a hotel that was looking at going in there and decided not to go there because of the proximity to the railroad tracks. The old public works site we had looked at years before, actually, for relocation of our fire department and police department down there. There is some impediments to that site down there. There's, as some people would know, that's where the old city incinerator and dump used to be down there. So there is some soil contamination down there that is significant that has to be overcome. So it's an opportunity down there. What it should be, I don't know. We do know that there's a pretty good price tag along with cleaning up that site before we can do anything.
Tom?
I agree that I think on the planning commission level we've looked at both of them. As Steve said, the old street shop site, that's got some issues that we're going to have to work through. But more importantly, the one is the Boston's area to the viaduct. I think that's a very good spot for kind of some mixed use, some commercial. I think it would be just great. Maybe some high-end residential might go in there. Some apartments would be nice. And I think that's a great site for some development.
So there's good potential there. You think?
Very good potential there.
Makes sense, Steve?
Yes, it does.
To develop the river area here in Faribault. I was going to talk a little bit about police and fire staffing because I did ask the other council candidates about that, and I want to stay somewhat consistent with our questions, although we don't obviously have control over those texted questions, and we want to answer your questions, folks. The number 507-838-5233. So are police and fire departments adequately staffed, Tom?
I believe they are. I think we just added another full-time fireman that city council appointed him last Tuesday night, I believe. Correct, Steve?
That's correct. I mean, it was filling an existing position.
And so I think it's great. I think it's very important to public safety that in a town, especially as we continue to grow, to maintain very high standards in our public safety departments.
Steve?
I think that our fire department is well staffed. You know, we have kind of a unique situation where we have a full-time, part-time fire department. So we have 9 full-time firefighters, and depending on vacancies and stuff, but between 20 and 24 part-time firefighters. It makes a pretty good and effective force for us there. And one thing that's been really nice is that when we've had a vacancy in our full-time firefighters, the people that come up to fill those positions have come out of our part-time ranks. So we're getting people that we know and already got a lot of training. So I think in that area we're doing really well. With our police department, we have, over the last few years, we have been able to replace some positions in there that we ended up losing during the downturn in the economy. And in our current budget that we're looking at for next year, we're also looking at adding another officer there. The one thing I would like to be able to see us be able to do is be able to get our police force a little bit more involved in proactive policing. So instead of responding to everything, which we're going to always have to do, but if we could do more to help in community policing, get it out in the communities and work with people ahead of time, and maybe we can help to eliminate some of the issues that we do see.
Keep in mind, the Faribault Fire Department, I don't remember the exact year, I think it was the early 90s, they went to this 9 full-time firefighters. It was a cutback at the time. This was in the early 90s. So 9 is still the correct number, you think, Tom?
I would have to sit down. As I don't know the official numbers, I haven't been given those numbers. But if we could increase it, I would like to see it increased.
Steve?
Well, I think with our current fire chief, and then when Mike Monge was also fire chief, we've heard from both of them that currently it is working, but our calls for service has been increasing as our community has increased and everything. So somewhere in the future, I think we're going to have to look at that and make sure that we're able to still be efficient in how we're operating the department and responding to the calls in a timely manner.
Currently, this is a texted question, currently the city taxes lodging to promote Faribault. It then gives this money to the Chamber of Commerce. Is this the role of government? Why do this, it says?
Well, the issue with that, and the fact of the matter is it's not a large enough budget from that is brought in from the lodge tax, and therefore to go hire an independent firm, or the option would be to hire a city staff, would take up most of that budget. If we could find, and we have partnered with the chamber, which already has staff members in place, we can reduce our costs of the overhead of personnel and electricity, computers, all the overhead that goes into it. We could probably get more bang for the buck with our tourism dollars. If we have a larger budget, when we continue to add hotels and those things and bring in more dollars, then we'll have to take a look at it. Maybe hiring a city staff person to take care of that. But right now, I don't believe the budget is large enough for that.
Steve?
Well, the reality is that the Tourism Commission really is the one that gets the money to work with from the City Council. We're talking a budget of between $90,000 and $100,000 a year is what tourism creates there. Previously, the city had contracted with the chamber to perform this tourism function. When we went through and reorganized and created this tourism commission, they in turn decided to also work with the chamber as their basically agency that handles the day-to-day activities of that. I think that when we looked at it also, we talked about bringing it in-house into the city, and just as Tom had mentioned, the cost that the city would incur, we would basically use up most of the dollars that would be there out of that $90,000 or $100,000 budget just on personnel and everything. This is, at least for the time being, this is a more effective way of being able to deliver that product, if you will, out there for our community, and it helps to promote the community. And again, those dollars come directly from tourism, so it's a tax that every hotel, motel bed, when it's rented out, there's a certain amount of money that comes back to the city to go back into tourism.
Again, Steve Underdahl, Tom Spooner, our council candidates for the Faribault City Council. They're on our AM Minnesota program today. We'll be visiting with 2 more candidates tomorrow, Royal Ross, Adam Gibbons. Last Friday we had George Wickstrom Jr. and John Rowan on the airwaves. They are vying for seats on the Faribault City Council. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of people have already voted, but for those of you who have not made your decisions yet, if you aren't able to listen to this entire program, you can always go on our website, KDHLradio.com, our YouTube channel. We are videoing and providing the audio, of course, on the video on KDHLradio.com. Snow removal, is it adequate in Faribault, Steve?
I believe that it is. Actually, I think when I visit and talk with other communities, just looking at Otana to the south and Northdale to the north, and talk with people in those communities, they really look at Faribault as a model of really doing a good and efficient job. And I really thank our public works people for the work that they do on that. It takes all of our public works people, not just our streets department, to be able to remove snow, but I mean even people in our utilities department, everything else, to be able to do that. We get a heavy snow, it takes 2-3 days sometimes to get everything cleared out completely, but I think overall, given the resources we got and everything, I think we do a really good job.
Tom?
I would agree. I think the public works here guys here in town, they do a great job. Unfortunately, you can never time Mother Nature. It always falls on a weekend or over a holiday. It's very difficult, but they do a great job in cleaning it up as most efficiently as you can.
There's been talk about a north interchange up by County Road 9, I believe. There's been talk of that. We have a south interchange that has never been completed. Does it make sense to go north before you finish south, Tom?
We've talked about this for years now on the planning commission level. It would be probably more advantageous to finish off the north interchange for the way that the industrial park has grown on the north end of town. I think that would be more bang for the buck, and it would be greater benefit to reduce some of the truck traffic and things that are coming into the city on the exit by the airport and whatnot. I think it would be great to have the north interchange first.
Steve?
Well, when the interstate system went around Faribault, it didn't do us any favors with the interchanges at all. And if people go back and remember, actually, for a while, the freeway was separated by what's County Road 46 and 21 there right now. But we don't have a full typical interchange of our 3 interchanges out there. They're all have issues with them. We've looked at the north interchange for a number of years. I've been involved in some planning groups with the county and also with the city in discussing this. I think it's a great idea to have out there. Some of the realities that we've learned over the time in talking with MnDOT and the county engineer, the city engineer, just the realities of that, it's going to be really a long uphill battle to be able to try and get that to happen. It would have to probably be all done with local dollars, nothing from the federal government or anything like that. So we've kind of been encouraged more recently to look at really developing our frontage or backage roads that we've got out there into something that would be better served to help us grow into that area out there. And maybe somewhere in the future, once development has occurred out there, because that's one of the things with the state and the federal highway system, they usually don't put interchanges in until there's actually a need. They won't do something based on what might happen.
Well, I would think that people that live on the south side would think there's a need.
I would agree with that, but like Steve says, is that MnDOT does it kind of backwards. There has to be the need. It's kind of the cart before the horse kind of thing, is you have to have the development there to have the interchange, whereas you and I would think you'd like to put in the interchange to encourage the development, but it just doesn't work that way.
So in other words, they have to have a developer saying they want to go there before the state will do something.
Very true.
Okay, if you could please text those questions, that'd be awesome, because we can get to more questions that way. 507-838-5233, and again, do not drive and text. This leads to the next question, I guess. We've received this texted on other programs about development of the I-35 area. When you look to what Owatonna did along I-35, Steve, development of Interstate 35 or through Faribault here?
Oh, definitely. It's an asset for our community to be on a major freeway like that. And as different businesses have looked at locating in Faribault over the years, that's been one of their primary things. It's a primary artery that we've got. Some of the difficulties that we've got in Faribault is the land that we have around I-35. So there's, as you go north of Faribault, there's a lot of wetlands, there's a lot of hills, we've got pipelines that all make development in there difficult, not impossible, but we don't have the luxury like, say, in Owatonna, where there was a lot of flat land out there that was available for development. It's going to be much more of a challenge for Faribault here, but we still need to look at our proximity on 35 and work at those areas that we do have that are prime for development and use that artery as the connection point there, because it doesn't necessarily mean that development has to occur right on the freeway, as long as we can provide a good roadway system to get from the freeway to wherever those businesses locate.
Tom?
I would agree on that. I think that the corridor, the Highway 60, 35 corridor out that way is very ripe for development. that was cleared, and like Steve says, there's a lot of land that has challenges, but that area, the downturn in the economy in the early or the mid 2000s really kind of hurt that development. But I think in the near future you're going to start to see some development. I don't think it's going to be the big box retail like we had thought of and planned for. Big box retail isn't expanding like they were in the past. They've kind of slowed down themselves. But I think you could get to see some more mid-sized retail things move into the market.
And the number to text your questions to would be 507-838-5233. Please do not drive and text, just like you shouldn't drive and phone either, or as that goes. 507-838-5233 is the phone number. 507-838-5233. You both said you were on the Community Vision 2040
Yes.
committee, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Was that a awesome experience for you guys?
Very much. Great experience, yes.
What do you think you gained most from it?
The thing you learn a lot about the demographics of the community, what the community is all about, the general makeup of it, and where we're headed, the size of the town, the population, the inventory of what we have, the parks, the recreation opportunities, the education, all of it goes into the groundwork behind it.
Housing availability, that's in there.
Housing availability, all those kind of things are in that. And now going forward with the comprehensive plan, those are going to be the action steps that are going to complete the 2040 vision statement. It's going to be an exciting couple years here with that project.
You enjoy the process, Steve?
I did very much so, and I think it was great to be able to bring people who are experts from outside of our community to have a look at our community and what makes it up. As Tom mentioned, demographics that are out there. You know, we live in our community every day, but until you can actually put hard data to it, you don't really necessarily see exactly what the impacts of those things are. I think we all know that we have a very diverse community in cultures, just in likes, dislikes, everything else like that. And the 2040 vision, you know, was to try and pull all this together in more of a concise vision for the community, and that's trying to take into all the different elements that people have for a community. And people have different visions of what they would want our community to be, so it's trying to pull that together, and I think we have got something there. And as Tom mentioned, it will be the framework for being able to help us with the comprehensive plan and move that forward to actually start putting some of that into place.
Now we have just a few minutes left in the show, so I'll give each of you an opportunity to talk to the Faribault voters listening and tell them why they should vote for you. I'll start with you, Steve.
Well, I think my experience on the council has gives me a pretty good ability to move forward with the community. I've been fiscally responsible for the community. I've been open to ideas. I am actively engaged in discussion and debate within the council. I think I work pretty well with staff there, and I've been able to see some things through. Definitely when you're doing things in city government, things move slower than they do if you're running your own business or anything like that. That sometimes can be a frustration, but I think understanding how that process works and also working with other governmental units, and that's one of the things I've been pushing along here, is that we need to look at ourselves not just as a city of Faribault, we need to look at ourselves as a community, because if you really look at our area here and you start taking into the lakes to the west and everything, you know, our population grows almost double when we look at that. But we've also we need to work well with the county, we need to work well with the state, even our neighbors to the north and south, where years ago we used to all kind of put up silos. We need to break those down because we're in a global world, and we need to be able to interact in that situation and work together to make something better for our whole region.
Tom?
I would like to think that my experience, whether these last 15 years and being involved in city government, would give me good leadership experience. It's nice to be here today with Steve as a fellow candidate. I look back when I was younger and I was the young kid on the planning commission. He was kind of a mentor of mine with some of the other gentlemen. I look up to him a lot as being a good council person. The fact, sit back, listen, take in all the facts, learn everything about a subject that you can, and then make your final decision. I think that's what's great about our community, and I think we're going to have a bright future here in the next 10 years. I think it's going to be an exciting time here in Faribault.
All right. Well, thanks, gentlemen, for coming in. Certainly do appreciate it very much. Again, tomorrow we'll have 2 more candidates. Last Friday we had the 2 other candidates for Faribault City Council, and I'm sure you guys would both agree people need to get out and vote.
Yes.
Correct.
That's
Very
the bottom line.
important.
Yep.
Must get out and vote. Of course, you know where to tune after the vote's counted, right?
Right here.
Right, Steve?
KDHL.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. We've got all the numbers on election night.
That's
We'll
correct.
have all the numbers. Not a lot of fluff, but lots of numbers. That's what I like to do, just give out the numbers. So you'll tune in after the polls close at 8 o'clock, and if it's like the last presidential election, we'll have them all done before midnight. Because I remember years ago being up until 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and I'm not exaggerating, in past election. I'm so appreciative of the fact that we can get in before midnight. That concludes today's edition of AM Minnesota. Again, tomorrow we'll have Adam Gibbons, Royal Ross, a couple more Faribault City Council candidates, and you can text in your questions 507-838-5233. Again, remember, do not text and drive. You're in tune to KDHL AM in Faribault, Minnesota. Have yourselves a